We're ready to go, finally, with the presser right here on The Fan.
How you doing, man? Morning.
How you doing? Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News. Jerry, just your thoughts on the disappointment of where you are right now with your season.
Well, this is the first time in my life I've ever been disappointed. Most of the time, I've had more disappointments than I've had highs. And so this certainly is an example of what can happen to you in this game, football. You guys have heard me say that a lot of times. It has fleeting moments of euphoria, and then and those are made special by having hard times. Specifically, I am disappointed that we aren't in the playoffs and aren't in good shape to be in the playoffs. So that is a disappointment.
What's your message to the fan base in terms of you can get this fixed?
I think I point to the pluses that we have. I will start off by saying that Brian is one of the reasons for our fans to be excited about our future and his first year. And if there would be a definition of how you would like to come in and your first time as being a head coach in the National Football League and have a nice learning experience, I think that you could say that he's experienced things that will, in my mind, make him better qualified to be the head coach in the coming years than he was when we hired him this time last year. So I point to that. I point to Dak. And I think we saw what we can have. I think I saw Dak at the best I've ever seen him this year. And that's saying a lot because he's played some great football around here. But first of all, we had him all year. And so I've seen him. I know I've been criticized that we wasted having him all year. One of the reasons in my mind that we had him all year is I liked the way that Brian put a plan in for our offense that was a combination of addressing success and good offense, along with things that took him out of harm's way in some cases. And so in a lot of cases, specifically, that was thought about, discussed, and planned going forward. Let's do everything we can do to keep him out there and keep him available. And so that worked very good, and you see the results that he had there. I think that some of the coaching that we had in our team was outstanding. From the assistant coaches, and he's going to speak to that, I'm sure, but I will tell you from my perspective, I saw things to get real excited. I want our fans to know. I saw some things to get real excited about the abilities that we have of our coaching. I would like to remind everybody that a fact of life in this NFL is availability, and that can go over into the coaching. Because if you have a lot of success, you're replacing coaches. You're replacing them all the time. Detroit lost their 2 coordinators last year. So you have, it's nothing new. The sun's coming up to be sitting each year looking at replacing a coach. The system in the NFL is designed for coaches to have the best chance to move on. And that happens, and if whether you're doing it really good or whether you're doing it really bad, that can happen to you. We've got to do a better job of when we have a change that needs to be made, for if it's our own volition or somebody else, we got to do a better job of picking who's going in there. But Brian, again, will be very involved in that process, as we were last year when we made those changes. And we will do a very intense complete focused job of replacing where Flus and any holes that are left here because of Flus's job. I think those things are more positive than negative, and so I see improvement. I like what we've got to build on, the positives of the year where the offense did play well. We've got some young people involved in that offense. We've got some new people involved in the offense. The other thing I will say, and I don't want to get it going that I talk about Parsons a lot. I don't want to get that going. But I've been talking about Herschel Walker for 35 years. And so it wasn't Herschel Walker that we're talking about when we talk about Herschel Walker. This ain't Micah no more that we're talking about when we say Micah. We're talking about the action, the trade. So please, let's get our identification of our boundaries set up. Having said that, the very best of what we were trying to get involving the Micah Parsons trade is all out there ahead of us. It's all ahead of us. We've got some of it on the field already. We're going to get more of it on the field in the draft. The very best of that trade is out there, not the least of which Stephen will address and can address it better than me. No way in the world could we have ever entertained having a player like Pickens for the future if we had signed and had still had the Parsons trade and hadn't made the trade. We would not have had any flexibility. It was zero chance of having that money available for that. And for that matter, when we look at what we've done with Quinton, it's very not likely, it's been impossible to have Quinton. So without getting wordy, which is impossible for me, as you know, without getting wordy, the very best part of that trade will come now. It has come, but we can build on it. We will be better, the parts that we got, the Quinton, the parts that we got there. So I look forward to that. That is material. But it's only material if you buy into where we would have been had we not made the trade. And that one you're going to have to take a lot of our word for of where we would have been had we not made the trade. But everybody in here can add and subtract and just use your imagination, and you can see we wouldn't be thinking about some of these things.
Clarence.
Clarence, Dallas Cowboys. My first question, Jerry, you've intimated, outright said that you were the one who hired Matt Eberflus. Moving forward to the next coordinator, will Schottenheimer get to hire his own coordinator?
Trump just said it. I'm running. Venezuela. Seriously. Shotty had everything to do with hiring Matt Eberflus last time, and that's not done as a negative. It had no way in the world he's here if Shotty didn't want him here. Okay, let me be real clear about that. And he can tell you in his own words there. No way in the world if Stephen didn't want him here. But I particularly had a party when we got him to have him come in. And I was excited about having the uniqueness of his staff. The idea being you get, there is an advantage to having your proverbial, what kicked and still living to tell about it, having been shot at, hit in the foxhole and come on back and have a go. Okay, that philosophy has not worked several times around here, and y'all have had me advocate it for the last 30 years. I like to have guys that have had hard times, and then they come back and get a chance to redeem it. One of the best things about all of football is you get to redeem yourself both on and off the field. If you're still active in a player, it's a redemption thing. And they've got that, and it will cause a lot of what you've done not satisfactory to be forgotten. Football does that for people, coaches and players. And so I say to our fans, the way we've done it, I'll assure you that the way we've done it in the past, that alone will cause me not to do it that way now. That alone. That's simple logic. If whatever we've been doing to do it in the past there, we need to change that, that'll happen. That's what you have to do when you're doing it, making the ultimate calls. We'll make it the same way that we've made all of the calls around here on staff. I wouldn't make a call if Stephen didn't agree with the call. I wouldn't make a call if we're involved with a player and somehow Will wasn't involved in the decision of making the call. I wouldn't do that. And by the way, those guys and me, we take a lot of opinion. If you want to criticize me for anything, it is that maybe I should make a lot of uninformed calls or contribution to the decision calls. But I've done it with consistency since the day I walked through the door here. We'll do it the same way as we hired Flus. We'll do it together and come up with as good as we can.
Brian, do you anticipate any more staff changes at coordinator level or any staff changes now that Flus is gone?
Yeah, I mean, we're going through the exit interview process. I just got done with the players. I'll start the staff later this afternoon. And what I would say to that is, we're evaluating everything. This is I shared with you guys last week, right? It's an exciting time because we're getting answers to the test. We're figuring out where we came up short, where I came up short, where I need to be better. And, I want to go through the process. I want to sit down and continue to have great conversations with Stephen and Jerry, but that'll probably take through the next couple of days, and we'll evaluate things after that.
Jerry, actually for all you guys, Todd Archer with ESPN. Is head coaching experience a must for the new coordinator? And if it isn't, is a first-time coordinator a possibility for y'all to look at as well?
No, yes. You ask a good question, and no, yes. No, it's not a requirement, having been a head coach, and yes, it's possible to have a first-time coordinator.
Shortest answer you've ever given.
It's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
And Brian, why was there such a disconnect on defense as you look at it now?
Yeah, I mean, Todd, when we go back through the year and you look at it, I mean, it was the inconsistency. It was different things every week. And, some of the struggles in the pass game when we were playing zone, and then some of the struggles in the pass game when we were playing man-to-man. And, me, the number one thing that you want to do is stop the run. I thought we actually did that in the latter part of the season. I think where we ultimately came up short was we weren't able to take the ball away. You look back at our shortcomings, and the team's playing this weekend, and I agree with Jerry. I'm sick that we're not playing this weekend. We're good enough to play this weekend. Unfortunately, starting with me, we didn't play good enough in terms of the ball. -9 in the giveaway takeaway ratio. That's terrible. It's terrible. And so we have to protect the football on offense. We did not do that at a high enough level. And quite frankly, we did not get enough turnovers. Why? Turnovers create momentum. There's game-changing plays. And as we go back through the season and we look at it, those are going to be certain things that we'll identify. And that's the process that's kind of already started.
John Machado with The Athletic. Brian, what are you looking for specifically for your next defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think, John, a teacher. I love what Jerry said. We want to cast a wide, net of candidates and find someone that's a great teacher, a great communicator. You guys know me. You're around me a lot. I'm full of energy and love what I do. I think someone that's passionate about football, but the ability to take what is complicated information. What we ask our players to do in all three phases is complicated. We want guys that can say complicated information in a simple manner. And if I say something to you that you don't understand, I need the ability to say it a different way. The same message, but say it a different way, because how you learn might be different than how Nick learns or how Ed learns. And I think that's the starting point for me.
And then for Jerry, what is your offseason plan when it comes to free agency? Is there any plan to be even more aggressive than maybe years past?
Well, I think Clarence, everything that I've had happen, misquotes around here have emanated from Clarence. But we can have some fun. I don't want to sound by saying we're going to be active in free agency, then disappoint and say that we weren't. But if we have an opportunity in free agency, and if we have more than one opportunity, we're going to take advantage of the fact that we're in better shape today to play free agency than we thought we might be. And so we're going to use it. We're not saving it in our back pockets to use where our advantages are. So, yeah, I think so. We definitely are going to take advantage of these two number ones. Don't think that we couldn't do some trading here with those two number ones. And so all of the value that you get out of having these extra picks and having some flexibility under the cap, we're going to take advantage of it. And we obviously don't have a mentality that we're dealing with a bad hand at all. I think we had some real success in free agency this year. And so that's a good one that's a good place to start. Pickens was a good stroke. And certainly we think Williams was a good stroke. We think Clark was a good stroke. And that's not different than free agency, but acquiring top people. These guys, to the person that I just mentioned, they love football and competing the way Michael Irvin did. Each one of the ones I just mentioned are about that. And I'm including Pickens in that very much. As much as we think that he's exceptional as a player, his love of the game and his passion about the game is unquestionable. That's strong stuff.
Nick Harris, Four Star Telegram. Along those same lines, Jerry, with George Pickens, obviously an extension conversation is going to be had. Is there a priority for you guys to want to get it done sooner rather than later, or are you guys okay with taking the whole offseason?
Yeah, let's, and again, those are the kinds of things, what's sooner, what's later. How bad do you want me? Does that mean that you should have been at the doorstep the other night? I don't want to get in those kinds of assessments of how much we're trying. He's an outstanding player. We don't have some of the issues that we might have had. And we are very proud of when we signed Dak. And boy, certainly after this year, you see in my mind how much that meant to the Dallas Cowboys and our fans to have Dak Prescott out here. But when we signed him, we took on a real direction of doing things that are really friendly to his future with the Cowboys. Right here is a big result of that. Brian was very friendly to the future of Dak Prescott in terms of just the proximity to to Prescott's career. It's important for us to protect him. Now, it's also very important that we alleviate some of the pressure of never having good field position or of the type of thing that a balanced offense-defense does for you as far as what it can do for your quarterback. But again, if it's not obvious, I think it's very plain as the nose on your face. Everything we've done is because we made a choice to build and complement what Dak brings to the table. Does it mean that we shouldn't have a backup for Dak in case he's not available? We should, of course. But that's where our emphasis is, and that has dictated, since we made that decision, that's dictated a lot of our decisions around here.
And then when you guys are looking for this next defensive coordinator and having the conversations, what kind of style, what kind of scheme are you guys going to be looking for that you think can maximize that side of the ball?
Well, I'm going to let Brian and Stephen, you guys answer that. I'd like to take a double handful of this guy's qualities right here and say, now that's what we're looking for over on the defensive coordinator. Real passion, real enthusiasm, great, I'm talking double great ability to communicate with players. I'll start right there. But Brian.
Yeah, and what I would say, Nick, is, again, at the end of the day, we've had this conversation a lot. The best coaches, in my opinion, are flexible. So we're not going to pigeonhole ourselves and say, hey, we have to be 3-4, 4 down, whatever it is. I mean, I've been in the West Coast system, the digit system. Hell, I played for Steve Spurrier in the fun and gun, right? Good coaches take their players that they have. They've got an identity. They take their players and they fit their players into the model that fits what they do well. And that's why I go back to what I said earlier. You're looking for a teacher. You're looking for a guy that has the ability to instruct and get guys to believe and get guys to buy in. We're salesmen. When you're up there in front of the players, you're selling them on why what you're doing offensively, defensively, special teams, why it's going to work. And part of that's your personality, part of it's your ability to communicate. But when we cast this wide net to go find the right guy for this job, which we will find, no question about it, it's going to be the things that Jerry was talking about, but also the flexibility of, hey, we can do different things, because those are the things that, when I talk with Jerry and Steven, those are the things that cause us problems, the flexibility and some of the unknowns and things like that.
We brought on and Quentin, we brought on with Clark, and I can stop right there because they're there. They're tremendous players to build around from the ethos of the team about football and about you want dogs, they're dogs. You want people that know what a meeting means. You want people that know how to lead, those kinds of things. And I'm encouraged about that. We've got some great leadership about football and the little things that are required to go do that. That's very important, rather than wearing a hoodie at practice. That's important. It's big stuff.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add is just that, when we're looking for this guy, we obviously have, we think, some really key pieces in place. And so you want this guy to have a vision for how he's going to use Q, how he's going to use Kenny, because we've made big commitments there, how he's going to use Osa, obviously easy at the end. You got Overshone at linebacker, you got Bland. You want to see that vision, and then the vision for how fast we can get 2 number 1 picks. I'm not saying we're for sure going to pick defense. C.D. Lamb sitting there again, you have to look at it, but we've got to see that vision for where you bring in 2 number 1 picks and get them contributing right away. I think that's going to be really key when we start to talk to these different coaches. What is their vision and how they're going to use those pieces?
But I want to make sure that I'm not misunderstood about one thing. We have got some building blocks over on defense that are serious to having a great defense, and these guys are they have a talent. To be leader, you got to be talented. If you are talented and are a leader, somebody that influences your players inordinately, you got something. Dak Prescott's maybe the best I've ever been around at being the combination of that. If you could sprinkle that through the rest of your roster, you have gained on it, folks. And we've gained on it. That's what I'm trying to say. We've really, from where we were sitting here this time last year, we have made quantum leaps in my mind in the football character of our team.
And one thing I'm going to add to that, just having exit meetings with those guys, you give Q, you give Kenny an off season. Imagine the influence they're already having an influence. When I ask the guys, hey, who are the leaders in the locker room? Who are the guys of influence? 4, 95, 97, 92, 0. You give those guys an off season, being around the other players, powerful.
Tommy Arsh, DallasCowboys.com. Jerry, you mentioned building blocks and pieces you have on defense. As you've kind of evaluated the roster the last couple of days, where do you feel like you need to add in free agency or the draft, wherever it may be? What positions do you feel like you need more building blocks in?
Steven, you can contend.
Yeah, I think obviously linebacker. I mean, as we've mentioned, we love Overshone. I think he's a core piece of the defense, but certainly, we could use some help there at linebacker. And then I think secondary, it's always important to be able to cover the guys. And, between injuries, between Revel being a little slower getting into the mix, coming off his injury from college. He was obviously a little raw when you first get out there and you hadn't had a OTA practice or a training camp practice, and so it took him a while. So, I still think, though, we need, help in the back end. And certainly, obviously Clowney had a great finish to the last half of the season. And, I think he's an important guy for us to add. He's free to add to the mix.
Brian, Tyler Smith told us the other day that he was going to meet with you about left tackle, left guard. What was that conversation like? Did you come to a decision about where he'll play in the future?
Yeah, it was great. Actually, Tyler and I just had it, Tommy, and I was explaining to him. I said, hey, I think, we feel that you're an incredible all-decade type guard. But at the end of the day, you're such a good player that at the end of the day, we have to play the 5 best guys. And in no way, shape, or form do I think that we can't, with a full year of Guyton and Nate Thomas and those guys and getting those guys going. But Sis wants some direction. And I said, right now you're a guard. But at the end of the day, we're going to do what's best for the Dallas Cowboys winning a Super Bowl. And that, just like we did the last 3 games, if we got to move you to tackle, we will. And excuse me. What I love about that is Tyler and I were able to have that conversation. He's like, makes perfect sense. I understand.
By the way, that's why he's a core piece going forward and why we wanted to sign him. I mean, versatility is huge when you can have a player that can be the best guard in the league and also swing out there and play to a Pro Bowl caliber level at tackle. We had that in Larry Allen. I think he actually did it, and I think he was all-pro at guard and swung out 1 year to tackle, and he made Pro Bowl all-pro there. So, that's what we think of Tyler, and as Shotty said, he's the ultimate team guy to boot.
Ed Werder, WFAA. Looking long-term at the defense, in 3 of the last 6 years since 2020, you've had historically bad seasons in terms of points allowed under 3 different coordinators. When you look at what the issues are in that regard and what the fixes could be, what do you see?
And who are you asking that?
I'll ask you. I'll exonerate Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Ed. I'm going to take another drink of water.
No, I think that one of the principles that I have is I like, as I said earlier, I like people who have had some hard times. In general, I'm a sucker for hard times. And then I see them with skill and with the experience, and if given a chance to really excel, then they gnaw the leg off the chair to come do it. And that's really, if you look at it, you'll see that pattern in these hires. And I don't know that we deliberately had that written down, but certainly the ability to come back and get it on. And we've got to widen that dimension, dismiss it whatever you want to, and we can't let that criteria do it. I can tell you right now that there's a lot of reasons why that coming up off the mat is harder to do. Because you've had the wind knocked out of you, and you might not have the confidence, might not have some of those things, and I'm talking now generally here. But coming up off the mat, they should be heroes on coming off the mat. Boone Pickens was my greatest hero, and he got knocked down, knocked out when he was about 80, and he came back dead broke, had to fight over the China when a divorce, and fought over the China. And then turn around, and 5 years later, you picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille, and was a billionaire again. And he was so depressed during that time that he had to lift his leg out of the bed to get out of bed. He didn't feel like going. And he overcame that and went. And I said the same thing before the National Coaches Association when he was being honored, that here's a guy that knows how to get knocked down and come up. And if you can do it when you're 80 and get there by the time you're 85, you sure as hell ought to be able to do it when you're 20, coming back up when you're 25. So those are the kinds of things that were in my thinking relative to the past. And so that's why that you see the pattern, or somebody wrote in here the profile of where we are. So without dwelling on it, we're not going to follow necessarily that as a criteria profile. We're going to develop another good reason to be involved. But I don't mind telling you, it has skewed my decision making.
When you look at what happened with McCarthy's first year, you replaced Mike Nolan, you hired Dan Quinn, you dedicated a draft that year to improving on defense. I think your first 6 picks, maybe 8, were all for the draft of defensive players. Do you envision that being a plan you could follow and create the same kind of dramatic turnaround in a single offseason?
Well, I'll be very candid with you. I'm not so sure. You know what we think of Dan Quinn, and we really admire everything that we had with Dan. But we didn't get where we want to get, not because of Dan, but we couldn't stop the run when it got down to the nut cutting. And so there's some aspects of that. Those turnovers we had with Dan, my goodness, put me in line. I'll stand up out there for that every time. And they cover up, a lot of things about cooking. If you make it so hot that it burns the roof of their mouth, and you make it so cold that it's like hot ice, it'll cover up a lot of the frailties of your talent on cooking. And so you can put some pretty good stuff out there. Well, those principles haven't necessarily worked for us. That doesn't mean that we won't have an ex-head coach in here at all. But it won't be the emphasis, at least on my part, to today and what we're dealing with defenses today. But I have had a lot of luck, whatever you have had a lot of good decisions made based on taking people that, for whatever the reason, are out of the step right then, and giving them another opportunity when they have had accomplishment in their background, both in football and out of football.
Joe.
Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. Jerry, you talked a lot about continuity being an edge, obviously, 4th defensive coordinator in 4 years. How vital is not only getting a defensive coordinator that's successful this year, but that can stick around for a while?
I wouldn't believe we had a discussion just right before we came down here. And what is continuity? A coach that has been here 4 years and got all rookies, those haven't been here but months. So where's the continuity? Is the coach got the continuity because he's talking to a lot of different players? In other words, those players don't necessarily match up with the continuity of a tenure of a coach at all. And how do you mix-match that up? I would say this: be a little careful about building a defense around a certain experience aspect to it. Be careful about having key cornerstones out there, when availability will probably wipe that out for you 1 or 2 different times, where you may have as many as 2 or 3 missing at any time in a 17-game schedule. As old Barry Switzer used to say, we're going to start over here in the East, going to California. These covered wagons, I'm the wagon master. We're going to burn some of them for firewood. Some's going to die along the way. And we're going to break them down, float the Mississippi River with them. And we're going to have a lot born on the way. This will not be the same group, but the train's going to get there. I just hope you're on it, because I'm going to be on it when it goes. So the whole point is, there's a little bit of that in football. What you get started with is not what you end up with. What we're talking about is you got to have somebody that can roll with the punch and put a theory out there that you can bring in rookies, and you can bring in somebody that you've picked up during the season. How about guys you pick up the week before? We've had teams in the NFL playing with those guys. Diggs did it up at Green Bay. You got to be ready to go with that kind of stuff, and that may be a bigger adaptability issue, or maybe a bigger plus to what you're dealing with as a coordinator than maybe the fact that you've been through hard times and won a Super Bowl, but want to show it again.
Steven, today you guys could do interview requests for non-playoff team staff members. Have you guys made any requests, and do you have a working timeline with what you want to do for this hire at defensive coordinator?
We haven't made any requests yet. Obviously, when we get ready to do that, we'll make those and, go through the proper channels, to communicate with these people. And but we're still making the decisions on who we want to bring in here for interviews.
Do you have a working timeline, though?
Yeah, I think this week, as this week goes along, we'll probably get to a point where we're sending those request forms in.
Newy.
Newy Scruggs, NBC5. Stephen, question for you. What's your strategy on Javonte Williams, who you got had an excellent year for you here, the way that whole running back market goes, especially considering what it was once we had Ezekiel Elliott, and then just being able to hit on him this time?
Sure. I mean, Javonte's at the top of our list to go out and sign, and we want to bring him back. We want to sign him to a multiple-year deal, and we'll be, Adam and I have been talking about it, about how we want to get started with his agent. It's my understanding he really wants to be back as well, which is helpful, but certainly that's one of our priorities is to get him re-signed.
Shotty, question for you here. Name somebody mentioned me earlier. You used to coach with the New York Jets, Dennis Thurman. Your thoughts on him, former Cowboy, possibly being here on the staff in some way at all?
Yeah, again, DT was with us with the Jets. I thought, he's a really good coach, but, I think there's a ton of great coaches out there. And, what I love is our ability to talk through and have discussions about, different guys. And, again, I go back to the fact that we want to, cast a very wide net, and we're going to talk to a lot of people. And why? It's an important decision. And it's a decision we're going to get right because we understand that there's going to be guys that want this job. Why? Well, we've got some incredible pieces in place. Jerry just talked about them. Quentin Williams, Kenny Clark, Osa, Overshown, Ezeraku. Talented young players like Vaughn, Shamar James. And so, again, I think it's an exciting time for us because we feel like going through the process, it could be tedious. It could be a lot of long hours, but that's what we love. And that's what you have to do to get the decision right.
The teaching aspect you talked about?
Yeah.
The teaching aspect.
DT's a very, very good communicator. Always has been. I was actually with DT in New York and at USC.
We really all are aware, everybody in here aware that we want to, and if we could have played some better defense this year, we might still be playing. We all are aware of that. But I want you to know this is not even close to being on par if we were sitting here looking at having made a head coach change. This isn't even in the same stratosphere as far as the challenge. We're going to find a good coach. And I'm not trying to diminish it at all. I just want to get it in perspective here. It should be numbers of people that can be good coordinators for us. Now, if we were sitting here talking about like we were last year and about making a change there and what have you, that rascal right there and that decision and where you go there, that's a horse of a different color. But you can't be in this business in the NFL and not be planning on either with failure or success changing defense and offense coordinators. You can't be. It's part of it.
Patrick.
Hey, fellas. Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Two questions, both of the questions is for the panel in general. When you talk about the look for the defensive coordinator, Jerry, you said you guys are not adverse to someone who's not been a coordinator prior. On the back end of the season, after that 3-game surge following the Quentin Williams trade, when the defense kind of started to unravel, was there ever consideration to move on from Matt Eberflus at that time and maybe elevate someone like an Aaron White-Cotton so you could, give him a real-time interview to see if he had what you guys would be looking for in that role going forward?
I think, we at that time felt very strong that Flus is a damn good football coach and that we were going to work together, all of us. It's not just Matt Eberflus, okay? My name is on this record as well, and I take the accountability of that, right? I'm the head football coach, but Flus, the defensive staff, we felt like we were looking for examples, and we've talked about this. We came out of a tough stretch. We won 3 games in a row. We put ourselves really in a very good spot to be in contention for the playoffs, and we didn't finish. And so the answer to the question is no. We were playing every week to win, and I think that's what we're learning and trying to do because of the high goals that we have here to want to be a championship football team.